learning and evaluation process, of course, I think the NAAC peer team might have given you the suggestions. You have to look into it, and whatever suggestions you can implement, wherever you can apply it, you must take note of it and you should implement it if you really want to get the higher grade. Now you see, once the peer team comes to the process, I said that there is a drastic change in the process. Earlier, you see, when we used to go for the assessment of an institution, the peer team members used to get the information from the, of course, NAAC, and again from the college we used to get the invitation. The colleges, they used to make the arrangement for our lodging, boarding, etc. They used to pay the honorarium, they used to make remaining arrangements, everything they used to make. But now you see, the peer team information is sent to the institution only 3 days before the visit of the peer team. Because a number of complaints were made that the peer team members, if the information is sent earlier, the college management or the staff, they contact the peer team members and they try to manage the grade or the other thing. A number of complaints of that type were received. So now the NAAC has changed its process. The peer team members, they are directly informed by the NAAC. Their lodging, boarding, payment, honorarium, etc. It is all paid by the NAAC and not by the institution to which the peer team members are visiting. The institution has not to make any financial, measures or anything provide to the peer team members. Secondly, there is a change in the assessment process also, because you see now there are the quantitative parameters and the qualitative parameters, or the quantitative matrix and the qualitative matrix. Now, of course, you see all these things we will be discussing in the coming sessions, so I will not go into the details of it. I will simply like to tell you what will be the assessment outcome. The assessment outcome, of course, you see earlier the use of information and communication technology was not very much, but now it is more and more moving towards the information and communication technology. Earlier, we used to send the 5 copies of the self-study report to the NAAC, but now the self-study report, once it is prepared, it is put on the website of the institute and we mail them to the NAAC. And the word limit, it is also fixed. It should not be very bulky, because many times I still remember once I got the self-study report that was of 700 pages. So you see the NAAC has defined the limits of words also, and therefore it should not include the unnecessary details or the photographs. And if suppose you want to provide the extra information, you can give the connecting link to the NAAC. So these are the 3 parts on which the assessment outcome is based: part 1, part 2, part 3. One is the peer team report. Of course, the 30% weightage is given to the qualitative matrix, and the peer team report, now we can say it is having only the weightage of 33 because it mainly examines the qualitative parameters. Graphical representation, which is based on the quantitative matrix, this is, of course, the NAAC itself is doing, because they have designed a software with the help of which they are measuring it. And then the institutional grade sheet, because the institute is providing its profile, then it will include the qualitative indicator, quantitative indicators, and one more thing that is very important, the weightage of about 50 marks out of 1000 is given to the student satisfaction survey using the existing calculation method, but it is generated by a software. And students, because the information of all the students who have been admitted in the institute, it is to be sent to the NAAC, and NAAC seldomly, or you see, select randomly some of the students and take their feedback. So whether they are satisfied by the institution, of course, a questionnaire is provided to them, and if it is satisfied, of course, the weightage of 50 marks will be given, otherwise the marks will be given accordingly. Now, calculation of the institutional CGPA. I told you that the NAAC is providing the accreditation certificate, and after the accreditation certificate, they are providing you the grades. And they calculate the cumulative grade point average CGPA. This CGPA is calculated, the scores of which is derived from three sources: system generated score of the quantitative parameters, scores of the qualitative parameters, which of course will depend upon the visit of the peer team, and scores obtained on the student satisfaction survey. Now, these are collated by an automated procedure. Of course, the software again is there. It is based on certain benchmarks or the standards, and it is assessed on a 5-point scale: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Earlier, 0 was not there. Only it was 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now, even 0 you can provide if you feel there is nothing worth to be noted or worth mentioning. So the number 0 has all been included on a 5-point scale: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, institutional grading. At the end of this, you see the grade will be awarded to the institution, which will represent its quality along with its accreditation status based on the CGPA earned by it through the assessment process. And institutions which secures the C1.5, they are intimated and notified by NAC that they were assessed and found not qualified for the accreditation. And this accreditation status is valid for a period of 5 years from the date of approval by the standing committee, which is constituted by the EC-NEC. Earlier, the results were approved by the executive committee of NEC, but now sometimes the meeting of the executive committees are delayed, so they have formed a standing committee, and the standing committee, after the approval of the standing committee, the accreditation status is awarded to the institution. Now, these are the institutional grades in the accreditation status. You can see it. If it is less than 1.5 D, it is not accredited. Then earlier you had C, C plus, C double plus, but now it is only C, ranging from 1.51 to 2, because I told you that you are getting the CGPA ranging from 0 to 4. So from 3.51 to 4, it is A double plus. Of course, you see the number of institutions which are getting A double plus, the percentage is very less. In MP, I think A double plus अभी नहीं मिला है. एक institution का था, but of course you see it was 3.26 or 3.50. It is A plus. Earlier it was 3.26. The institution, I think the BSS, it was 3.28 or something like that. But A grade was awarded after the grading was reviewed. It comes to 3A plus. Now it is, I think the career college is having the 3.26 or 3.27, that is A plus. A double plus in MP, I don't think any of the institution has scored A double plus. Then this is the grade A, B double plus, B plus, B, C, and D. So, of course, you see, I'm sorry that I wasted my time, and therefore I couldn't discuss a number of things in detail. But whatever I wanted to convey in a short span of time, I have conveyed it to you. If there is any question, you can ask me, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very enriching to hear from you, although there was a little glitch in the start of the session, but then you overcame.
Again, you see, I can't hear you.
It's okay, ma'am, not an issue. I think there's some glitch at ma'am's side.
Should I unmute myself?
I think ma'am has some internet issue today, so she's not able to hear us. But ma'am, your session was very good. A thumbs up to you. Let's move on to any queries from the participants.
Sunila?
Yes, ma'am. It was a very well presented, ma'am.
She's not able to hear, ma'am, actually.
Sunila ma'am is saying that she is unable to hear us. She is actually not, there is some audio problem at
Let's do a thumbs up for her, ma'am. You were really awesome.
Only I can show you a sign, but I'm not able to hear what you have said.
Okay, ma'am. So I think she'll not be able to hear the queries also. You can post your queries if any participant has. You can post the queries in the chat box so that she can answer.
Somebody can connect through phone and can read the query on chat box so ma'am can answer the query.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunila ma'am, will you be calling ma'am?
If anybody is having any queries, please do message in the chat box. I'm speechless. I think Madam has covered all the points.
Yes,
Whichever
ma'am.
important agendas are there, what points are to be looked upon, they all have been very much presented by ma'am. Due to little bit technical issues, it has been late, but it was a very, very informative session. All the participants are texting us.
So I suppose there's no
Just
query
calling
from the
up.
participant.
So I would take a leave
Hello.
of Rani ma'am for giving us so much.
Okay. Now I would request Dr. Chandra
जी
Palawan
ma'am.
ma'am.
Hello.
Thank you, Janal. On behalf of Sant Tezaram Girls College, Bhopal, I would like to thank the keynote speaker, Dr. Pramila Mani Madam, former director, Institute for Excellence in Higher Education, Bhopal, for sparing her valuable time for virtual national conference on accreditation, ranking and quality, a paradigm shift for strategic enhancement of higher education in India, organized by ITAC Sant Hizaram Girls College, Bhopal. We are thankful to her for accepting our invitation for this conference. We feel delighted and honored by listening to your talk every time. She explained the dimensions of quality in higher education and need for quality. She
Ma'am,
emphasized that due to competition in growing number of institutions, there is need for achieving quality in higher education institutions. She also explained how to obtain good grading net. I would like to thank our director, sir, Shri Hero Gyan Chandani ji, for providing all the facilities and motivation for organizing this conference. I want to thank our principal madam, Dr. Dalima Parwani, for organizing this virtual conference during this COVID time so that we got connected with the renowned speakers. I especially thank to Dr. Sunila Chaube, convener IQAC, Dr. Madhvi Gaur, ma'am, head of Department of Geology, Dr. Archana Chaube, assistant professor of chemistry. Both are the co-convener of IQAC. I am Professor Jan Khan, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Commerce, for comparing this session very nicely. Last but not the least, I thank all the eminent speakers, participants, faculty members, and students for attending this session. Thank you very much.
thank you so much, Chandra ma'am. Now it's a request from my side since we have come to the end of the inaugural session, and that too was a very much success for all of us. Ma'am, I would like and all the participants, I would also request you also to please open your video so that we can have a group photograph. Okay, 1, 2, 3, say cheese. Thank you so much, all of you. And thank you so much, Pramila ma'am. Once again, I'm on behalf of the SHGC family. Though you are not, I'm not audible to you, but then
Now
again.
I can hear you. See, I have
Okay,
taken
okay.
my cell phone is in my hand, and I can hear you now.
Okay. So, ma'am, a heartfelt gratitude and thank you once again.
No, no, okay, so it is enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So, dear participants, moving on to the technical session. I would like to, it gives me again great pleasure to welcome you all once again for the first technical session. In this session, I suppose somebody's mic is unmute. I would request all the participants for the time being, please kindly mute your mics. So moving on to the first technical session, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all once again for the first technical session. In this session, we have two very prominent personalities as resource persons with us today, who would be discussing upon the first, second, third, and fourth criteria of NAC assessment. That is, curricular aspects, teaching and learning evaluation, research, consultancy and extensions, infrastructure and learning resources. We are obliged to have Dr. Anjali Chaudhary ma'am to initiate the session. Dr. Anjali Chaudhary is the head Department of Biotechnology, Career College Bhopal. Dr. Chaudhary has more than 13 years of rich administrative experience as an IQAC director, Career College Bhopal. She is awarded by Shresth Gurujan Award from Jyoti Vidyapeeth University, Jaipur in 2011. She is also the member of Board of Studies of Biotechnology in Barkatullah University, Bhopal. She also has contributed more than 20 research papers in journals and conferences of national and international repute. Ma'am, it's a very proud privilege to have you as a resource person with us for today's National Virtual Conference. Anjali, ma'am.
Yes, I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're very much audible. Welcome, ma'am. Hearty welcome to you on behalf of the SHGC family.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to all present here. First of all, I would like to congratulate the principal ma'am and the team, IQAC team, for organizing such a wonderful virtual national conference on accreditation, ranking, and quality. A paradigm shift for strategic enhancement of higher education in India. As I have been advised to talk for 40 to 45 minutes, so I will not waste my time and I'll go to the point. Before going to start the criteria 1 and 2, I'd like to highlight why this revised framework, or we can say that this new NAC process, become easier, become transparent and ICT enabled for all of us. It will be very helpful for all the participants or the institutions who are going to face the NAC first time or in a reaccreditation process. I'd like to highlight how this shift is helpful for the institution. Like Pramila Mani ma'am mentioned in her talk that this revised framework is completely now based on the quantitative and the qualitative. They have divided this framework in two parts, the quantitative and the qualitative. And quantitative part carries 70% of the mark. And 30% will be based on qualitative, and that will be checked during the process of or during peer team visit. This NAC revised framework, we can say that basically towards the extensive use of ICT, as all of us aware in this pandemic time, how much it is beneficial for us. And this use of ICT, it helps us in the confirmation of scalability and the robustness of the process. Then I can also say that this shift, it boosts the benchmarking as a quality improvement tool, because malpractices cannot help in this revised framework. What we are doing, we have to make it a lifestyle, we have to make it on a daily basis, what we are going to give our community, to our society, to our students, and the involvement of all our stakeholders. These are the key objectives of the NAC. Before going to start, let me share my presentation. It's visible, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
My screen is not visible.
Ma'am, not yet.
Wait, wait, wait.
I would request the participants to kindly mute the mics. Mr. Dinesh Sharma, I would like to request you to please mute your mic.
Actually, I'm hearing your speech. This is of Dr. Krishna Sinha, of Dr. Bhima Rao Ambedkar.
Ma'am, my screen is visible?
No, ma'am.
Not yet.
It's not visible.
I'm presenting, but it's not showing. I have present now entire screen and sharing. Yes. Now. Okay. Once again, I would like to welcome you all. I'm going to present criteria 1, that is curricular aspects, and criteria 2, that is teaching, learning, and evaluation. I hope it will be beneficial of all the participants who are going to face the NAAC first cycle or the reaccreditation process. Here, I would like to focus on the weightage, which is distributed to universities, autonomous college, and affiliated and constituent college. Here you can see we have 5 key indicators, in which one is totally dedicated to the university, because we don't have the flexibility as an affiliated college or a constituent college. We don't have a flexibility to design and develop the curriculum, right? And similarly, autonomous college, they have the flexibility. They can do the changes in the syllabus. They can revise as per the need, local need. So I will focus on the affiliated or the constituent college. There will be 4 key indicators. The curricular aspect, it covers 4 indicators. The first one is the curricular planning and the implementation. Curricular planning, we can talk about how and what we give to our students. You can say for UG colleges and PG colleges, 20 marks have been given on the planning and the implementation process. The second key indicator is academic flexibility. Here we get the flexibility in the terms of add-on courses, right? Value-added courses. There we can design our own courses. There we can score also. The 30 marks or have been dedicated on the academic flexibility. Next one is the curricular enrichment, 30 marks for affiliated constituent colleges. And the last key indicator, feedback system, having 20 marks. In total, the criteria 1 has 100 marks. Move to next. These are the compilation of the curricular aspects. 4 key indicators for the affiliated colleges, and the total weightage is 100. By adding qualitative and quantitative metrics, there is total 11 metrics. Qualitative 3 matrices carries 25 marks, and quantitative 8 metrics carrying 75 marks. Now come to the point. What we are talking about the curriculum planning and the implementation. As we have discussed in the previous slide, there is qualitative and quantitative, both type of questions. In this first key indicator, we have 2 qualitative and 1 quantitative question, right? In the qualitative question, we have to give the description of the initiatives taken by the institution, which should not be more than 500 words. As Pramila ma'am said, that this NAAC revised framework make it very simpler. We don't have to make a thesis on that. What we are doing, exactly what we have adopted the process or the initiative, we have to mention only that thing. Now, I would like to mention the type of documentation, because most of us or the institutions, they have the clarity about that. What we have to show in the form of document, what we have to keep the document, like the academic calendar. As the academic calendar shows the planning, right? What we have planned at the start of the session, what we are going to conduct or what we are going to do. Then our teaching plan. Then the departmental meetings, what we are going to conduct in next 15 days, next month, or in the coming 6 months, so that we can maintain our quality continuously. Then the learning outcomes, the timetables and the teaching learning resources, what we are using, then the attendance record, then to bridge the gap between the slow learner and the fast learners, the bridge and the remedial courses are to be there, question banks, previous year papers, academic activity and its planning, then result analysis and teacher's diary. So I have tried to sum up all the documents which are required to cover this qualitative question. Again, when we are talking about the planning and the implementation, so how the institute adheres the academic calendar for the conduction of to conduct continuous internal evaluation. Again, it is the qualitative initiative, and we have to write in a not more than 500 words. Here, the type of data required as per the standard operating procedures given by NAAC. They have mentioned us what type of data or the document they required as a proof, because when we fill the quantitative and the qualitative part during the online SSR, they have asked to upload the document as a proof, which can be validated by the third party. So the document required for this, here we have to mention in the academic calendar the dates of the internal evaluation. Like we have yearly pattern, so we have to conduct 2 CCE, 2 internal examinations, then what kind of mode we are adopting, then the notice and the circular, and the attendance and the result. These are the mandatory documents required as a validation of data. Next. Now, as again, it's a planning and the implementation, then the teacher has a very much important role. Only like being affiliated college, we don't have a flexibility to design our syllabus, but we have that opportunity to be a part of the revision of the syllabus, what we have to incorporate, which is important for our student. We can do that. How we can do that? By becoming a member, active member of the academic councils or the board of studies of the affiliating universities. If we will continuously mention our requirement, what kind of revision we want in the syllabus, we have to forward the letter to the registrar or the chairperson of the board of studies. If they will found, they will discuss during the meeting and they will incorporate the particular changes. Similarly, the NAAC included the paper setters. If we are the paper setters, we have to mention those also. This is a quantitative question. Here we have to fill the Excel sheet. How many teachers are there in the institute? How many of them are in these boards? Like earlier, before 2017-18, when they have revised this process, they have included only the academic council and the board of study members. But now, as it is a continuous revision process, and in the new NAC manual in 2020, when they have revised this, they have added the teacher as a paper setter and the teacher input as a design and development of the curriculum for the add-on certificate and diploma courses. As I have mentioned earlier also, like if we don't have a flexibility to change in the syllabus given by the university, we can design and develop our own syllabus in the form of add-on, in the form of certificate and the diploma courses. But what we have to take care here, that whatever course, that diploma or add-on course we are designing or developing for our student, it should be of 30 hours, right? The add-on or the certificate course, and the diploma course should be of 120 hours. We have to take care of this. And the teacher's involvement in the assessment and the evaluation process of the affiliating university. So here we have to give the options. Options in which form? Like how many teachers are there, their involvement in this process. These are the requirements. Now, what are the documents required for the validation process? The document required is the nomination letter given by the university, given by the autonomous college, because here a teacher can be a member of board of studies in the autonomous body also, in a private university also. They can be a member of academic council in these bodies also. So only what we want, that nomination letter. And one more thing which we have to take care during documentation, that the one faculty, suppose if I'm a member from 2017 to till date, so it will be counted as a one, right? Next. This one is the next key indicator, the academic flexibility. Academic flexibility, it carries 3 quantitative metrics. Means here we have to give the data during the validation process, and it carries 30 marks. What we have to include in this? As our university or in our syllabus, we don't have a choice-based credit system, but we have elective options. So we have to mention all the elective course which has been incorporated in our syllabus, right? What is the requirement here? The list of the program adopting elective course system, like in our BCom, in MCom, in MSc Botany, in MSc Zoology, Chemistry. We have elective options. Students have a choice there. They can go for the particular option. What kind of data is required? The course structure along with the credit details to be given. So here what we can do, we can upload the syllabus which clearly shows the elective options. Next is again the one of the important question, the number of add-on certificate programs offered during last 5 years. It carries 10 marks. Now, not only the introduction of the add-on courses or the certificate program offered, they are interested in the average percentage of student enrolled for that course. It again a quantitative question, and it will be filled in an Excel format. What are their requirements? The name of the course, the duration of the course, what is the curriculum, and what is the assessment process. Like if we are designing any add-on course or the certificate course, so we will design a brochure which will clearly mention the assessment process also. We can keep the quiz there, we can give the MCQs there. Then what will be the outcome of the program? Next, the list of enrolled students, attendance recorded of the students, and the certificate issued and feedback should be uploaded. So these are the mandatory requirements. What the document they require to be uploaded for the data verification and validation, the summary report of each program year-wise. So at the end of each year academic session, we have to sum up all the reports or the course completed during the year. The third key indicator is curriculum enrichment. It has one qualitative and two quantitative questions. Again, it's restricted. It should be described in not more than 500 words. Now here, what they are expecting from the institution, whether the curriculum provided by the university or the course designed or developed by the institution, they are covering the cross-cutting issues. What are those cross-cutting issues? What does this mean? It means that what we are really distributing to the society, which kind of program we can introduce in this, or the course we can introduce in this, the gender equity programs, the professional ethics program, the human values, the environment and sustainability. So whatever our syllabus, course syllabus have been, we have to upload this also, the list of the syllabus and the courses which we have introduced during the session. We can also show that. Again, the part of the enrichment, they are expecting us from the institution that we have to give the percentage of courses that include the experiential learning through the project work, the field work, or the internship. As in our syllabus, there is no provision of internship and the project work or the field work. But what innovation or the what initiative we can take here? We can introduce the internship program from the very first year students. They promote this practice, and this could be a best practice for the institution also. If we are giving the exposure to our student of this project work or field work or internship, they accept as a best practice. What is the requirement in this? Because it carries 10 marks. If we will promote this initiative, we can score 10 out of 10. We have to provide the details in the Excel format in which the name of the course, the detail of the experiential learning, and the name of the program. What is the requirement here? What we have to keep as a documentary proof? The internship completion certificate, from where the student have completed their internship or the project. Or for field visits, we have to provide them the report of that visit or sample photograph. Or if we don't have the report, or either it is bulky because there is a restriction, we cannot upload more than 2 MB data over there. So we can also upload the permission letter given by the authority. Next, now they were asking about the average percentage of the course. In here, they are asking about the percentage of the student. Suppose if we have a strength of 3,000 students, how many of them have been undertaken the project work, the field work, or the internship? In this, again, a quantitative question. If we are able to give the data of the 50%, 60% students, we can able to get the score of 10 out of 10. Here, again in the Excel format, the name of the program, a number of students undertaking project work, field work, and the internship. And document required here is in the Excel format, the list of the programs and the number of students undertaking the project work and the field work. The last key indicator is feedback system, as again it is one of the important part, because we have to involve all the stakeholders in a continuous revision process and continuous quality improvement process. So NAAC has the expectation that each and every stakeholder have equal opportunity to give their feedback. In criteria 1, we have to only incorporate the feedback given on the curriculum. The process of revision and redesigning of the curricula, that can be taken from the stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? The students, the alumni, the industrialists who can give us the feedback on the curriculum as per the local need or the industrial need or the employability need. This kind of feedback help us to improving the inputs. And it's an active process from all the stakeholders, not only the collection, but analyze and identification is also important in this key indicator. The first metrics in this, whether we are taking the feedback from all the stakeholders. So they have mentioned student, teacher, employer, and alumni. They have given us the options. If we will take all, whether we are giving the feedback from all the stakeholders, we will get the full marks here. But what are their expectations in the form of documentary proof? What they want from institute? The feedback should be related to design and review of the syllabus only. As I have mentioned earlier, they can ask sample field forms also from each stakeholder. We have to be ready with that also. And the data verification and validation team, they can ask randomly any feedback form from the selected stakeholders for the verification process. Next matrix is, we have collected the feedback from all the stakeholders. Now again the option is there, what we are doing after the collection of the feedback, whether we have collected, we have analyzed, and action taken, and feedback available on the website. If we will take on that, we will get the full marks. We will score here 10 out of 10. What are their expectations? The feedback or the action taken report, that should be signed by the head of the institution and should be provided and should be uploaded on the institutional website, so that it will be transparent to all the stakeholders. Then they are also expecting some documents which is showing feedback which is communicated to the university, and the action taken by the university should also be provided here as a documentary proof. I hope criteria 1 is clear to everyone. After the completion of my presentation, the questions will be invited from all the participants. I'm moving to criteria 2, that is teaching, learning, and evaluation process. And it covers the maximum weightage in this overall process of assessment and accreditation of 7 criteria. Again, here I'm showing you the distribution of weightage for criteria 2. Here we have 7 key indicators. As you can see on the screen, the student enrollment and profile. You can see directly here that for universities, it is of 200 marks. For autonomous college, it is of 300 marks. But for affiliated or constituent colleges, it is carrying 350 marks. So you can understand the weightage of this criteria, how we can score and what we are giving to our student, because student is our important stakeholder. This criteria completely focus on the students from the beginning of their admission to the up to the exit from the college. So go to the key indicator, that student enrollment and profile carries 40 marks. We'll discuss later on also. Here is, this criteria has 7 key indicators. Total weight is 350, total metric 16. Comprises of 7 qualitative, carries 125 marks, and 9 quantitative question carries 225 marks. Now come to the first. That key indicator is student enrollment and profile. Why it is important? When we are talking about the student enrollment and their profile, means we are maintaining the data of our student. We are taking care of our student who is taking admission in our institute. What kind of data they required? Here is a requirement of last 5 years, and it's a quantitative question, carries 20 marks. The number of students admitted year-wise during last 5 years, and the number of sanctioned seat year-wise during last 5 years. This is the requirement here in the student enrollment, but it will be verified in the profile 1, where we are giving the detail of the total number of students, total number of sanctioned seats and all. If we will do a mistake here, or it will not be compatible to the part A, we will be stuck in a DBV process, right? And we have to take care our ASHE and our NIRF also, what we have mentioned. They are the total strength of the student and what are the sanctioned seats. Now, what is the documentary requirement here? The document related to the sanction of the intake from the affiliating university. Number of seats sanctioned from the university on which we can give the admission. And then the approved admission list, year-wise, program-wise from the affiliating university. And the sanctioned admission strength in each program. So that we have to manage from the starting, and we have to keep the data of our students so that we can easily get the details. In the same key indicator, next matrix is, like if we are talking about the total strength, how many of them are from the reserve categories? How many seats are for various categories like SC, ST, OBC, Divyangjan, as per the reservation policy mentioned by the government. So again, quantitative question carries 20 marks. Here they have mentioned exclusive of the supernumerary seats. And now what is supernumerary seats? These seats are not included in the sanction strength, as it comes under foreign, NRI, other special quota or special circumstances, the extra seats allocated to the institution. What is the requirement here? We have to fill in an Excel format that the number of students admitted from the reserve category, and that can be extracted only from the data which we are managing through our MIS or the ERP. We can get the data easily from there, and the total number of the seats earmarked for reserve category as rules, whether we are fulfilling those norms or not. The requirement is there. Their caste certificate, the issued by the government, is one of the mandatory proof. They can ask for that. Then the final admitted list, if we are talking about that in the session 1920, 1100, 1200 students admitted in our institute, how many of them are belonging to the SC category, the ST category and the OBC category? So here the another requirement is the final admission list. Then the admission extracts submitted to the state OBC, SC and ST cell every year, and the number of seats earmarked for the reserve category. Next key indicator is what we are catering to the student from diverse background. Now here in this key indicator, we have one qualitative question and one quantitative question. Carries 50 marks. Well, this one qualitative question, what it is, and it carries 30 marks. Here you can see if we will represent our initiative or the process briefly, we can score 30 marks, the full marks here. What we have to do, what we have to assess here, the learning level of the student who are entering in our institute, how we are analyzing their learning levels, right? So here I have elaborated some of the process, like the identification of the slow learner, how we will identify, then what are the special programs we are organizing for the slow learners, because we have to put them in a employable world, and then the program specially for the advanced learners. How we can identify slow learners? If there is no provision of entrance exam, so during the admission counseling, we can check score of the entrance exam, if any, during classroom interaction, during qualification examination marks, and the internal examination marks. Here, what kind of initiative institute can take up? They can arrange their short test also for the students. So it becomes easier for the institute to analyze or identify the slow learners. Now, after the identification, which kind of program we can organize for our slow learners? Like bridge courses. Then induction program we can organize for them. The remedial coaching we can organize. ICT-enabled learning materials can be provided to the slow learners. And the personal counseling can also be provided to the slow learners. Then, after this, what we can do for our advanced learners, we can engage them in different activities, like we can engage them in the research-oriented project, we can provide them an opportunity to do the industrial training and the internships. We can engage them in summer and winter internships organized by the institute itself. We can give them an opportunity to volunteering in the event organization. As NAC promote this, the participation of a student, this participation is mandatory so that student learn that capacity of dealing, or the student learn how to work in a collaborative environment, how to deal with others. Then they can be a class representative, they can serve in various institutional committees as it is a mandatory part. Then they can be a peer teacher for a slow learners. It can also be a very good practice taken by the institute. We can make a small group of the advanced learners and give them a responsibility of peer teaching. Then we can engage them in the subject related student societies, and we can give them a free hold to organize activities. What are the documents required here? The list of the advanced and slow learners, as I mentioned earlier, we can conduct a small test, and there we can identify easily, we can set a benchmarking that the student who will score more than 60% or the student who will score below 60%, that will come under the category of slow learner, and the above 60% scorer, then those students can be put in advanced learners. Then notices related to the various programs, attendance, feedback, as it is very mandatory for each and every activity. It helps us to improvise our activity day by day. Then what we can add from our side, we can add the success story with the evidences after implementing these programs, and the couple of the photographs. These are the documents required as a documentary proof. And here all the records must be maintained separately year-wise. As all we know that in a continuous assessment process, we have to submit yearly report in the form of AQAR. After 5 years, we have to compile these 5 AQARs, and we will get the self-study report. Next key indicator, next metrics in this, the student-teacher ratio. Whether we are fulfilling this, it's a quantitative question, and only the data required for the completed academic year. Like if I'm talking about the session of 2021, so that will be complete in 30th June. So I have to give the data of this 1st July 2020 to 30th June 2021. Right, and we have to give the data in an Excel format, in which we have to mention total number of students enrolled in the institution. Means again it will be verified by the DVB team. What we have mentioned in our first question, that total number of students taken admission. Then total number of full-time teachers in the institution. Now who will come under full-time teachers? As the institution have a guest faculty also, they have a part-time faculty also, but here NAC will consider only those teachers as a full-time teachers who take 90% of the workload. as defined by the statutory body. That will be only considered as a full-time teacher, irrespective of the nature of their appointment. Right? And they will calculate the formula on that basis. If we are talking about the number of students